This man, Shawn Bentler, had everything. A family who loved him, a home filled with promise, and a future waiting for him to take the reins. But in the early hours of October 14th, 2006, something inside him snapped. At 3:38 a.m., his 14-year-old sister, Shayna, made a desperate 911 call whispering, "My brother is going to do something, but I don't know what." Moments later, gunshots rang out, shattering the peace of their home. By morning, 5 bodies lay lifeless, and the small town of Bonaparte would never be the same. Shawn Bentler, the son they trusted most, had turned into a killer, wiping out his entire family in a cold, calculated massacre. What drove him to do the unthinkable? Was it money, resentment, or something darker? Stick with me as we uncover the shocking truth behind this horrific tragedy. Shawn Bentler was born on February 5, 1984, in Bonaparte, Iowa, to Mike and Sandra Bentler. The Bentlers seemed to have it all: a successful family business, a beautiful home, and 4 children. Shawn, the oldest, was different from his siblings. While his sisters excelled academically and athletically, Shawn struggled in school and lacked ambition. Mike, a skilled carpenter, owned multiple lumber yards and a mill, providing for his family. Sandra supported him in both business and home life. Shawn's sisters, Sheena, Shelby, and Shayna, were high achievers, while Shawn struggled with academics and extracurriculars. After high school, Shawn moved to Quincy, Illinois, with his friend Keith Gratz to attend college, but dropped out after 1 semester. He returned home, where Mike offered him a job at the family business, but Shawn's attitude remained unchanged. He was financially dependent on his parents and avoided responsibility. By 2006, Shawn had failed to hold down a job, was behind on child support, and had been cut off by his parents. He confided in his girlfriend, Lexi Leslie, saying, "When my parents are dead, I won't have to worry about money anymore." This chilling remark foreshadowed what was to come. Shawn's life was spiraling further. In 2002, he fathered a daughter, Chloe, with his girlfriend Nicole Pickard, but struggled to keep up with child support. He couldn't hold down a steady job and moved from place to place, unable to support his children. In 2005, he moved back to Bonaparte. Mike offered him a job at the lumber company, but Shawn remained uninterested. While Mike worked hard to build the family's wealth, Shawn resented the idea of working for it. Despite his parents' support, Shawn felt entitled to their wealth and often complained about being cut off. His growing resentment and financial desperation pushed him toward a shocking decision: to eliminate the very family who had supported him. Shawn Bentler's life continued its downward spiral. By 2006, he had been fired from his job at a car dealership and was deeply behind on bills. The mounting pressure of his financial struggles, coupled with his inability to hold down a job, left him feeling trapped and desperate. His parents had already begun to cut him off, and Shawn could see no way out. It was during this bleak time that Shawn made a chilling remark to his girlfriend, Lexi Leslie. While they were discussing their situation, Shawn casually said, "When my parents are dead, I won't have to worry about money anymore." At first, the comment may have seemed like an offhand statement, but to Shawn, it quickly became a dark, obsessive thought. The idea of being free from his financial troubles began to take root. Shawn realized that his parents' estate, valued at around $2.8 million, could solve all his problems. If they were gone, that money would be his. However, Shawn knew that his 3 sisters, Sheena, Shelby, and Shayna, would also be entitled to a share of the inheritance. The more Shawn thought about it, the more it seemed clear. In order to secure the money for himself, he would have to eliminate them too. His resentment, frustration, and growing sense of entitlement began to cloud his judgment. As these thoughts consumed him, the plan started to form in Shawn's mind. His desperation had reached a dangerous level, and the idea of murdering his family for financial gain became his only way out. Shawn, who had struggled for years to make something of himself, was now willing to destroy everything, including his own family, to get what he felt was rightfully his. On October 14, 2006, at around 3:30 a.m., Shawn Bentler arrived at his parents' house in Bonaparte, Iowa, driving his roommate's car to avoid being traced. It was a cold, calculated move. He had planned every detail of the night. Armed with a .22 caliber rifle, a weapon he had used before during hunting trips with his father, Shawn made his way inside, fully aware of the horrific actions he was about to take. The first victim of his deadly plan was 17-year-old Sheena. Shawn entered her bedroom and shot her as she slept. The shot was muffled, but it still set off a devastating chain of events. Sheena's body was found in her room, lifeless, the first to fall victim to Shawn's brutal desire for financial gain. After killing Sheena, Shawn moved quickly upstairs to his parents' bedroom. Sandra, his mother, was the next to be attacked. As she awoke and tried to flee, she was shot in the jaw. Bleeding and desperate, Sandra screamed for her husband Mike to wake up. This frantic plea was heard on the 911 call made by her daughter, Shayna. Sandra attempted to run down the hall, but Shawn shot her again, in a desperate plea, shouting, "Shawn, don't!" and she collapsed in the hallway. Mike, now awake, struggled to defend himself as Shawn tried to overpower him. The two fought in a violent struggle, but Shawn was stronger. He struck his father in the head with the rifle's butt, before shooting him once in the leg and then again in the head. Mike was left lying motionless, unable to fight back. The sound of gunfire and screams filled the house as the life was drained from his parents. Shayna, who had heard the violence and knew the danger, immediately called 911. During the call, she could be heard saying, "My brother is going to do something, but I don't know what," as her mother's voice could be heard pleading, "Shawn, don't!" Unfortunately, Shawn knew exactly where his sister was hiding. He made his way to her room and shot her in the head, killing her instantly. The final shot was heard as Shayna's life was cut short just as she tried to call for help. Shawn's last victim of the night was his 15-year-old sister, Shelby, who had been hiding in her closet, terrified. As Shawn entered the room, Shelby attempted to defend herself, raising her arm in a futile attempt to shield her face. The bullet passed through her arm and into her chest. Shawn didn't hesitate, pointing the rifle directly at her head and firing again, ending her life. With his family now dead, Shawn turned off the lights, left the house, and drove away in his roommate's car, hoping to cover his tracks. He disposed of the rifle in a ditch along a service road, knowing law enforcement would soon be arriving at the scene. At 3:55 a.m., just moments after the last call to 911, law enforcement began arriving, but Shawn had already fled the scene, leaving behind the evidence of his calculated actions. If you're finding this story captivating, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more gripping true crime content. Your support means a lot. Thank you. After the brutal murders of Shawn Bentler's family, the investigation quickly began. Shawn's attempts to cover his tracks were met with significant clues that would eventually lead law enforcement directly to him. Shawn immediately fled the crime scene after the killings. He disposed of the murder weapon, a .22 caliber rifle, along a service road, hoping to distance himself from the evidence. He also took precautions to cover his actions. Knowing the authorities would likely be on their way soon, Shawn turned off the lights in the house, deliberately attempting to create a sense of confusion about the timeline. He then returned to Quincy, Illinois in his roommate's car, trying to blend back into his normal life. When law enforcement arrived at the Bentler home, the scene was nothing short of horrific. Deputies found spent shell casings scattered around the house, along with blood trails leading to various rooms where the murders had occurred. In the hallway, they discovered evidence of a violent struggle between Shawn and his father, Mike. Despite the violent chaos, Shawn had been careful enough to discard the rifle, and law enforcement found it discarded in a ditch off a service road. As deputies continued to investigate the house, they discovered that Shawn's actions had left behind several critical pieces of forensic evidence. This included his own bloodied sock. Forensic testing on the sock revealed DNA that matched Sandra, his mother's, DNA. This discovery provided an immediate connection between Shawn and the crime scene. The breakthrough came from a 911 call made by his sister, Shayna. During the call, she identified Shawn as the killer, saying, "My brother is going to do something," as the sounds of violence were heard in the background. This call solidified Shawn's involvement in the murders. Tire impressions near the scene matched the car Shawn had driven, and phone records showed that he had been in contact with his family's phones just hours before the murders. These pieces of evidence led investigators directly to Shawn. Shawn Bentler was arrested and charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder. During the trial, his defense team claimed he was innocent, arguing that he lacked the means, motive, or opportunity to commit the crime. However, the overwhelming evidence quickly disproved these claims. Testimonies from Shawn's girlfriend, friends, and others painted a clear picture of his motive. Shawn had been financially struggling for years, and his parents' decision to cut him off deepened his resentment. His frustration grew to the point where he believed killing his family was the only way to secure the money he felt entitled to. A key piece of damning testimony came from his girlfriend, who recalled a chilling comment Shawn had made. "When my parents are dead, I won't have to worry about money anymore." This revealed Shawn's underlying intentions and provided crucial insight into his motive. The final blow to Shawn's defense came from the physical evidence. Tire impressions found near the crime scene matched those on Shawn's car, confirming his presence at the scene. With all the evidence stacked against him, the jury quickly saw through Shawn's lies and delivered a guilty verdict. On May 24, 2007, Shawn was convicted of 5 counts of first-degree murder and sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. Despite the overwhelming evidence, Shawn's defense filed an appeal, but the court upheld the conviction, dismissing his claims of innocence. He would spend the rest of his life behind bars for his horrific actions. The crime left a permanent scar on the community, but the greatest tragedy was felt by Shawn's daughters. His betrayal destroyed their family, leaving them with only painful memories. Shawn's attempt to inherit his parents' $2.8 million estate was thwarted, and the inheritance was placed into a trust for his young daughters, ensuring their care despite the devastation caused by their father's actions. Shawn Bentler's brutal actions serve as a chilling reminder of how greed and desperation can push someone to commit the unimaginable. What started as financial frustration and resentment toward his family ultimately led to the senseless loss of 5 innocent lives. Despite the overwhelming evidence against him, Shawn continues to maintain his innocence, stubbornly tarnishing the memory of his victims. His story is one of family betrayal, selfishness, and the ultimate tragedy. A son who killed those who had given him everything, all for the sake of money. If you or someone you know is a victim of abuse, please reach out for help. Call the National Domestic Abuse Hotline at 1-877-923 or visit thehotline.org. Remember, you are not alone. Thank you for joining us in uncovering the chilling details of this case. If this story has left you disturbed or reflective, please share your thoughts and reflections. Remember to like, subscribe, and stay with us as we continue to explore the stories that reveal the darkest sides of human behavior. Together, we keep these lessons alive, ensuring the voices of victims are never forgotten. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe or follow.